Let's revisit one of our top stories now. The State Security Agency report released over the weekend. Political analyst Professor Lesiba Teffo joins us now from our Pretoria studios. Prof, what immediately sprang to mind when you read about this report yesterday?
Yeah, it left me with misfeeling and more anxious than ever before. That are we ever going to get this right? Because for as long as we have a factionalized ruling party, there will always be these accusations. Remember, we have had similar accusations when then head of state Mbeki was in charge. And there were allegations that state resources were used against certain individuals, in particular then Deputy President Jacob Zuma, in order to disable him from assuming the mantle of power. Fast forward, he comes into power. Now we find ourselves in a situation whereby, again, he too is accused of having done same. And I'm asking myself, aren't we going to live to see another day where Ramaphosa too is accused of having done same? And I say the potential is very strong for as long as the party remains as factionalist as it is, because either way you try to remedy the situation, there is bound to be casualties, and those casualties will level accusations against you. Alternatively, because they are so factionalized and they don't appoint people on merit, those who are appointed on party political ticket will always take positions that might be inimical to national interests. So how to redeem themselves from that, I don't know. But it cannot continue in this fashion.
But what the authors of the report do and say quite consistently and throughout the report is that there are enough systems in place to prevent this sort of thing from happening. They say the rules of engagement are actually very clear. And we even have an inspector of intelligence who sort of also keeps, an eye on to make sure that this malpurposing and factionalization of these agencies actually doesn't happen. So it shouldn't really matter, who is in charge or whether they even have factions, because the rules are clear.
Is the human factor, Buyo. South Africa finds itself in this quagmire precisely because policies are not followed. You can come with as many laws as you please, but at the end of the day is the human factor, the caliber of the people. The men and women who would say national interests will supersede party political interests. People will say the national flag and the constitution is what I am about and not party political interests. So you can quote as many laws and on many systems that are in place. They were there even yesteryears, right? But they were flouted 15 years ago. They are being flouted today. And I'm saying we are very likely to see them being flouted again, as long as we don't put the right people into those spaces. And as long as the ruling party in particular is as factionalized. Because right now, look, I gave it to the president. He's doing the best he can to try to remedy the situation. But the strongest opposition to him comes from the tripartite alliance, comes from within his own party. So necessarily, and as a matter of fact, there are already factions that may start to accuse, if they have not started, to say even these commissions are intended to purge and to deal with those who didn't support him.
Now, the president, as you say, says this is an opportunity this gives us an opportunity to correct the wrongs that you have also alluded to. But I'm interested in what you think of the former president's response, under whose watch it would seem a lot of these things happened. He says, one, he has never been asked any questions by the committee, and then goes on to say that panel actually has two well-known apartheid spies.
One of the fundamental tenets of the South African law and jurisprudence across the world is the one that says, audi alteram partem. Each party must be given a hearing. I think for me that is a major flaw. Not to have it, whether you agree or disagree with him, that's not important. But listen to his story. It gives credibility and credence to the people who are dealing with the matter. That accusation, for me, carries a lot of weight. Now, what worries me most, though, is what he says, that you may live to regret having said the things that you are saying. And that reminds me of what he said a few years ago, or a few months ago. You are calling for this state capture commission, and I'm going to give it to you. But I think most of you will regret the day you asked for it. And I think it's an ominous statement, and there is reason to believe he has a lot up his sleeves. And that's exactly what worries me most. Are we ever going to get this right? Because all it says is going to bedevil the situation more. It's going to make the waters even more murkier, rather than to bring them together and say, it is not about us, it's not about our party, it is about national interests. It's about the people who we purport to represent in Parliament. Can we look at the national flag and look deep inside ourselves and say, we shall defend it by all means possible, as on the day when we took the oath of office?
But if, Prof, the whole point of inquiry was to know the truth so that hopefully we are able to then correct the wrongs. Why should anyone be worried if someone says, well, you're opening a can of worms which you might just regret? Isn't that what we asked for?
Yeah, but look, Vuyo, for some people, what is said is new. For others, there isn't anything new. Perhaps a confirmation and reaffirmation of what was lacking all along. And some people may rightly say, yes, Mr. President, you seem a bit excited about this, and you say it will help us. But you were there in the past 15 years. You were there even as the Secretary General. And indeed, some people did say that they whispered in your ears, but you never at least took heed. Perhaps biding your time just to ensure that you can get the mantle of power. So those accusations also, those suspicions, you cannot just readily dismiss them. Because the excitement that I pick up from him and others, I would give it some support if they were not there then, or they were new into the space, and they say, please, let's give them a chance. Yes, indeed, let's give them a chance. But there will always these questions will continue to linger, and the opposition can really make a field day out of them, that you were part of it. And Zuma reminded them, you keep talking about the 9 lost years, as if I was alone in office, yet you were all there with me, and you cheered, and you defended me on at least 8 occasions when some people brought about a motion of no confidence. They must look deep into themselves and say, we are also culpable. We were party to this. Perhaps we would have been in a better space have we just been honest with ourselves and said, we are representing the country and not the party. We are representing the people, and it's the people's interest that should supersede all else.
Prof, that's where we're going to leave it. Thanks very much for your time and insights this evening. Political analyst, Professor Lesiba Teffo.